what were your first 90 days like when you launched your own practice?
So scary.
So scary. Welcome to Behind the Frame, where we go beyond the LinkedIn bios and Instagram highlight reels to talk about what really happens when you're building something from scratch. I'm Jay Duffy, co-founder of Frame Wealth Partners, business owner, husband, dad, and guy who still wonders if winging it counts as a legitimate growth strategy. Spoiler, it does sometimes. Join me and my amazing co-hosts, Morgan Watson and Annette Quigley, as we sit down with someone who's built a business or is knee-deep in the messy middle of it. And we talk about the real stuff, the pivots, the late nights, the wins no one celebrated, and the lessons no one warned them about. So grab a coffee or something stronger. We're going behind the frame. All right, welcome back to Behind the Frame. I believe we are on episode 18. We've made it 18 so far. I can't believe it. Annette, and this is probably only our second time doing one solo together.
I believe so.
Yeah, thank God Morgan's not here. Well, as we start off every podcast, we want to start off with a weekend win. So what was your weekend win, Annette?
Mine was all about family, honestly. My mom celebrated her 78th birthday. We went to her favorite place in the world, which is the Shady Maple. It is located in Earle, Pennsylvania, so just past Lancaster, but it is actually the largest buffet in the entire country.
What?
So lots of eats, but what I love about it is lots and lots of shopping,
Okay.
handmade crafts, things of that nature that are actually below the buffet. And then in addition, the Amish community bring meats and produce and flowers and all that good stuff to market.
Where's
So
this?
it's in Earle, Pennsylvania. So from Harford County, where I live, about an hour and 20 minutes, but phenomenal. It's a good 3, 4, 5 hour day event. But we had good times. And I just like walking around after I hit the buffet because then it gives you a little bit of time to digest. So
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yes.
Well, for my weekend win, we had a momless weekend. Mom was on a trip to Charleston, South Carolina. And so I had James, Hayden, and Collins. We decided to go to the Manor Races. Have you heard of the Manor Races?
I have,
In
yes.
Moncton, Phoenix area. And that was a good time. We got to see some good races. The kids had a blast. I felt like a good dad that we just didn't sit home and watch the Masters, which is what I really wanted to do. But we got out there, we had some fun, and we had a blast.
it was a beautiful weekend.
It was, and the kids loved it. So weekend win for dad on this one. But mom came back, and the house was cleaned. Like I actually did everything.
Who
I
did
was
you
supposed
hire?
To.
No.
That's a good question. I should have hired someone. But I had my honey-do list. I got it all done, and we're here. So
Good.
Who do we have here today, Annette?
So it is my pleasure to introduce my personal dermatologist, Dr. Sarah Cannon, owner of Cannon Dermatology. Lots of credentials, so I'm actually going to follow my notes because I want to make sure I do you justice. So in my opinion, what you do is basically a blend of artistry and precision. You're really helping folks not just boost confidence, but overall health and wellness, which is really important. And I think that's often overlooked because in today's day and age, it is about how do I look, more so, unfortunately, than it is sometimes how do I feel. So you were, basically did your residency at Thomas Jefferson University Hospital, where you served as chief resident. And what I think is not so much just the bachelor's in chemistry and the, concentration in biochemistry. I was more impressed with the research that you've done in like pediatrics and nephrology and co-authoring, peer-reviewed papers. And quite honestly, just being a mom of 3 and being a business owner and balancing all of that, and we want to talk a little bit about that today, and kind of look beneath the hood, if you will. So
great.
Welcome, Dr. Sarah Cannon, to Behind the Frame. We're happy to have
Thank
you.
you. It's great to be here.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
great.
We're excited to have you. So I'm going to jump right in, if that's okay. All the things that you've done, what drew you to dermatology?
So I guess in residency, well, I didn't go into medicine I always knew I wanted to be a doctor. But in medical school and residency, or medical school, I thought I was going to be in pediatrics because I loved kids growing up. I was always the babysitter. But apparently in pediatrics, you don't just get to play with kids all day long, which is what I thought you got to do. You take care of really sick kids. You do a lot of hospital time and found that wasn't my true passion. Just did a rotation in dermatology, and it had for me a little bit of everything. I didn't like the hospital setting. I found that a little bit of a different type of stress. So I knew I wanted to be outpatient. And there's not many, at least residencies, where you get to be mostly outpatient. But you have everything in front of you. You get to see things, you get to touch things. I can do biopsies. I don't have to wait for a scan or an EKG or an X-ray. You can see people of all ages,
Yeah.
do hands-on work, but not be in an OR, and definitely good work-life balance. So it was kind of everything.
What was it that you didn't like about the hospital side of things that kind of pushed you to?
Very busy, but also there's a lot of downtime, waiting on tests. You round super early in the morning.
Yeah.
There's a lot of waiting. And then things just hit it and get really crazy all of a sudden. I don't know. It just, there's something about both being in the hospital and the OR that didn't give me the good type of stress to keep me going throughout the day. And I found that outpatient setting, which for me felt more controllable, was just a better fit for me. And some people love that environment of that high stress environment. Wasn't for me.
Yeah, I totally get it.
So talking about the patients, because like you said, all ages and all, just different backgrounds, what do you think people get wrong mostly about good skin versus healthy skin?
That's a good one. Okay. So good skin versus healthy. Well, I guess now, at least with social media and trends, and it's very to be into products and have huge skincare so many steps in your daily routine. So that I think right now is probably one of the biggest parts of dermatology that I find patients are getting wrong, or just investing too much and putting too much money and time and effort into. There's very few things that can keep your skin healthy and keep your skin on the right track and do skin cancer prevention at the same time, because that's one of the biggest things that we want to focus on with patients. So I think it's the KISS, just keep it simple. There's very few things and products that have a lot of evidence behind them to keep your skin healthy, and that's what I think patients should stick with. It's fun to buy things and try things and have 15-step routines if that's what you're into, but there's not a ton
Who
of
has the
evidence
time?
behind it. Exactly. There's not a ton of evidence behind it.
Yeah.
I like to stick with the evidence base.
I agree, because any of the videos I watch, it's always, and then they show it in the camera, and then it's, I'm using this, and then this, and then this. I'm like, yikes, that's a lot.
They do the
Right.
little thing with their fingernails.
Yes, do the thing with the fingernails, yes.
Did you always want to own your own practice? Did you
No,
wanted to?
no, I don't think I ever.
What made you make that leap?
I don't think I ever wanted to own my own. Well, I hadn't thought about it that far ahead. I was just, and I think a lot of people will say to you, doctors are some of the worst business people. Didn't take those classes. That wasn't on my mindset. You're kind of solely focused on, let me become a doctor. Let me get to the field I want to practice in and just do good patient care. Don't hurt anyone. Make, a lane for yourself. So that was just kind of how I was focused. And I had my first job out of residency, which was a great job, a small private practice in New Jersey. And I think pretty quickly I realized the state of medicine, the true ins and outs and nuances of it, we didn't learn in medical school. And I think it's still that way to this day. We had no lectures on the business of medicine. We had no lectures on, this is what you're going to encounter. Most of your day is not going to be spent seeing patients, but there's people behind the scenes doing prioritizations and fighting with insurance companies. And you have really long wait times, and you're going to spend a lot of time telling patients, I'm sorry, I'm late today. You're not taught that. It's just, oh, you're a doctor now and you get to help people.
Right.
So in my first job, I got pretty busy really quickly, and I think was seeing patients just like the average dermatologist does. A lot of patients per day, double, triple booking you, long wait times, minimal vacations or good quality of life and time with your family. And I loved seeing patients, and I hated everything else about it. I hated having to have those conversations when I went into the room with patients. I hate having, knowing that I was booking out 4 months and your established loyal patients saying, well, I couldn't get in to see you, so I had to go to urgent care. I had to go to somewhere else. And just getting home and being exhausted and then having still to do 3 hours of notes at home. So I was happy because I think thought I was supposed to be happy because I made it. I was practicing medicine. But my husband took a job in Maryland, and we were moving away, and I thought, okay, well, maybe I should look into other possibilities to stay in dermatology because I'm not super happy anymore. And I'd only been practicing for a couple of years, and I was saying to myself, am I actually burnt out after only practicing for a few years? This can't be possible.
How many children did you have at that point?
3.
3. Oh,
Yeah, the youngest one was less than a year.
okay.
Less than a year, yeah. So maybe that was part of it, but I feel like I'm pretty good about, and my husband's very supportive and family's very supportive. I feel like when I'm at work, I might be getting some updates, but I'm there.
Yeah.
So I don't think it was that I was at work and I was worrying, oh my gosh, something's going on, or I have to go do this for school. I was there. I just still felt that that weight, that I couldn't figure quite out why I didn't feel super happy. And I think it was a lot about the volume and just pushing people through your schedule all day long. So then when we moved and I was unemployed and I was just interviewing with practices, I just has started to hear more, probably from dermatology Facebook groups, local friends, people I did residency with who had moved all over the country, of the direct care coming more into dermatology. And I hadn't understood that before. So when we moved, I started to look a lot more into that. And it just seemed like maybe the method that I would want to practice. I went and flew and met with another dermatologist who had been doing it for a couple years, and then kind of reached out to a couple other direct care derms in the area, but didn't go and visit them. And I just wanted to see what it was really about and if it was a feasible way to practice. And it was kind of like when I figured out I wanted to dermatology, I was like, oh, this seems great. This seems like a happier way to practice, that there's maybe more control. And I can see that it's not a method for everybody. But when I figured that out, and I had interviewed at all the local practices, I was like, okay, that solidified things. Yes, I think I had interviewed at a practice, and they told me, oh, probably after a month, we'll have you up to seeing about 80 patients a day.
80
Oh,
patients?
yikes.
Yeah. And they were like,
What are you spending, like 5 minutes with each
yeah, if you
patient?
do the time and you go home in a reasonable hour,
Yeah.
you can see how many minutes you're in a room with a patient. And they were telling me that was, that'll be your lighter day. And they were telling me, right? They were telling me this is how we're going to book you. And there were other practices weren't necessarily like that. There was a little bit more autonomy and, control over your schedule. But still, there's still an expectation. You got to pay your staff. You got to pay your overhead. Insurance reimbursements aren't that great anymore. So the expectation is still there that if you still want to make a living and pay some of the overhead of the practice, which is part of your contract, you got to see patients. You got to see a lot of patients.
Yeah.
So a lot of that was removed in this direct care method because you're not paying the overhead. You're not dealing with the middlemen. It kind of can simplify things a lot. So you may not be, and I certainly wasn't, which maybe is a good or a bad thing, going into it thinking, I want to make all this money. I don't think I was thinking about the money side at all.
Right.
I asked the one physician I went and visited, can you pay your bills? Yeah, I could pay my bills. I'm super happy. Okay, good. That's all I'm worried about. So I wasn't going into it fully knowing, I think, everything that I should have, but that wasn't a priority for me.
Sure.
I wanted to see patients in what I thought was the right way and make some type of living, keep the practice open, and quality of life, I think, and good care for patients was more important for me.
Absolutely.
And not to say that other dermatologists, that isn't their goal as well, that they like that pace or they like having big expansive practices. For me, that just wasn't something I was looking for anymore.
Yeah.
So that's a segue into my next question. So you go from working for someone, being part of a practice, to now you're leading a team.
Sure.
So what kind of maybe, unexpected things came your way, because that's such a transition to go to now you're the one calling the shots, leading the team.
Sure. I think even with starting the practice was, like I said, not being a business person, never having even taken one business class in college, from just starting to open the doors, figuring out a lease, figuring out how you hire people, what's your protocols, what's legal, who do you get on your team. So that was one of the bigger things, hugely eye-opening of, do you really want to do this? You have no clue what you're doing, besides how to see patients. Right? I can't see patients on the corner. I can't see patients at my house. So that was hugely eye-opening. And it was great to have, I will say that's one positive of social media, having
Oh, yeah.
free groups of people just willing to give you their knowledge. And that's how I met a lot of dermatologists who were doing it,
Yeah.
and did use a couple books and manuals and podcasts from the American Academy of Dermatology, which is one of our governing boards, up on opening a practice. But most of that was aimed towards insurance run practices. So for me, it actually was a lot simpler because I didn't have to get credentialed with insurance companies and have all these billers in the back office. And it was, I don't think I would have opened my own practice, at least at that point in my life, if I wasn't going direct care. Because surprisingly, people must, and I did too, think, oh, you're opening a medical practice. This must be very, very involved. It wasn't as involved as I thought it was going to be
Now,
once I got into it.
For our audience that doesn't understand the difference, what's the difference between direct care and your traditional
Sure.
patients?
So for direct care, we do not contract with any insurance companies at all. So when you come to us, you're paying for a time-based appointment. Anything is done in that time frame. You're not capitated to, oh, we'll do this diagnosis, or we're not going to do this because then we have to bill for this biopsy, we have to bill for this surgery. It's just a single upfront cost for whatever you're coming in for, that half hour or that hour. Whereas in a traditional insurance run practice, you're going to go, number one, where your insurance covers that doctor is in your plan. And then it's different from the doctor side of things because they're seeing you and they're coding things based on your diagnoses and the procedures to get reimbursement, which is always a little bit tough because I think it's changed medicine a lot because
And
then
incentivize.
of course,
Yeah.
of course. And things have changed over the years where, for instance, someone might be coming in and they need 6 biopsies. But you already know because you talk with your billers every day that they don't reimburse you for 5 of those 6 biopsies. So is it in the practice's best interest to do everything so that patient only has to be in there for one visit? Or is it better for your practice to bring patients back multiple times so you're paid for each visit?
Right.
So you don't want to have to think about those things, but you learn about those things when you're part of a practice and running a practice. So I didn't like that either, that I not only had a 5 to 10 to 15-minute visit because you had people double or triple booked, but I also had to worry about how I was coding things, make sure that we were getting reimbursed properly. You're at night with your notes because this is how insurance companies work. You have to have certain wording, you have to have certain descriptions of a lesion, and you just didn't feel like you were spending your time on the right things.
Sure.
So with direct care, I don't have to worry about that. I can do whatever you need to be done within that time frame because I'm not worried, oh, the insurance isn't going to reimburse me for that, or that's not a high-paying code. You're there for a skin check and 15 skin tags, but in a regular insurance run practice, skin tags are cosmetic, so they're not going to do them. Well, I'm just going to do them all because it doesn't matter to me. You're there for your 30-minute appointment. We'll get everything done in your 30-minute appointment. So you in a direct care practice, you still utilize your insurance for biopsies, or you go fill a prescription at a CVS, or I send you for lab work. You still use your insurance benefits for that.
Yeah.
It's just the office visit itself. You see me directly. We do everything that needs to be done, and you pay the day of your appointment. You walk out. There's no bills, and that's it.
Yeah. I would assume that the time that patients spend with you is a lot more quality time of just getting a full.
Yes.
And you're a patient, so
I can attest to that,
you
yes.
can attest to that.
I think I've only seen maybe one other patient in your waiting room when I come in, because you do such an excellent job. So to your point, where you were double booking, I have another doctor that does that. There'll be 4 folks in the waiting room that all have a 9:30 appointment.
Well, I've had the
So-
experience, where 4 or 5 people in the waiting room. I'm there. It's probably about 45 minutes past my actual appointment, and then I get seen for 5 minutes, and I'm like, wow, okay,
Right.
This is a lot in my day. I took time out to do this because it's important for my well-being, and I get spent 5 minutes. Well, I don't agree with it. So
Right.
I love this, and this has been kind of growing in the medical. You see more concierge doctors,
Right.
And this direct care medicine.
Yes,
Go
and I
on.
think a lot of other fields have been doing it a lot longer. therapy and certain forms of
Right.
in psychiatry, primary care. There's a lot of concierge practices now, and at least they're a little different because there's a membership fee for a year, and you have that full access. For us, at least, there's just no membership fee.
Right.
You just come in, you pay for your visit. If you don't need to see me for another 6 years, and you just pay the next time we see you. So I think that also makes things a little bit simpler from the business standpoint. I never want the medical practice to feel like a business. So I also like that I'm not, oh, well, they paid for this. I have to give them something else, or I need to add something in, or I need to discount this. It's just, I give you the good medical care. You have your visit up front. You know exactly what you're getting that day. And
No, you're quantifying the value that you're bringing. That's
Yeah.
what's most important.
yeah.
And like you said, you didn't necessarily do business classes when you
Right.
were in residency, but you were chief resident. So with that came some leadership skills that you had to just inherently develop. Do you feel like when you took that into your own practice, were there things you knew to do that you didn't have an opportunity to do in that role, or maybe not to do? Like
Right.
how do you feel like that kind of maybe helped you on your journey with owning your own practice?
Yeah, I think it was helpful in just managing, and I was co-resident. We were managing schedules, lectures, who you brought in, people going out on maternity leave. I think that was super helpful, and you wouldn't have gone into that role if you didn't like it in some way, or maybe somebody saw something in you. But I think it was more helpful the first job. I know a lot of people do make it their own practice as soon as they come out of residency. I don't think I could have ever, because I learned and stored things from my first practice of, oh, I love that they do it like this, or I'm not going to do,
I'm not going to have
I'm
80
not gonna
appointments.
do that. Exactly. Or I'm going to make for someone that does this different in the back office, or I think you definitely need this in a practice. That was very, very helpful, I think, working first and seeing, which I think it was a really well-run practice, and I loved working there. But that was also just the business of medicine, seeing that many patients. So that was very helpful and eye-opening, I think, working first.
Awesome. What the purpose of our podcast is always to be more of a kind of a mentor for those aspiring entrepreneurs out there. And maybe there's some, potentially those going into the medical field that are listening right now. What would you say, what were your first 90 days like when you launched your own practice?
So scary.
So scary.
So scary and exciting. I mean, I think the only reason I didn't completely crumble under the fear of going out on my own and not only being a new type of practice in the area, but being new to the state, not having referrals and any word of mouth about myself is that, and I think this does apply to other businesses, is that I knew I had a good product because I knew I was only going to give as good of care as possible.
Right.
I wasn't coming into it thinking, hit this many number of patients per day. I wasn't sticking, whether this is good or bad, with a business plan.
Sure.
And my goal was just, I'm going to stay open. I hope some patients come and see me, and I'm going to give as high level of care as I can. And for some mentors that I had too, they said that this is the funnest part. It is the first couple of months because you're not booked out. You can sit in there all day long. I would have an hour-long visit with a patient.
Yeah.
Or I could respond to every single email personally.
Right.
Because I had the time. And I think at least in medicine, and I guess other businesses too, you over-deliver, and word of mouth builds that you're doing a good job. And that's all I wanted to do, was do a good job and
Right.
and see patients in the way that I thought they should be seen. So I think I at least was confident in that I thought I was a good doctor, and I thought that would just take care of all the problems that might come. But that was really just my aim, to just do it the right way, give as good of care as possible, and hopefully people will come back and people will come in and make appointments.
Well, it sounds like they did.
I think so.
I think you've done pretty well with
So
it.
yeah.
So, Dr. Cannon, what was it like after the first 90 days? The business starts growing. Maybe it's a year, 2 years down the road. The business actually has legs. Where do you start maybe bringing in more support for your practice? Because from what you mentioned, you wanted to keep low overhead, things like that. So
Right.
when do you start adding more to your team?
Since the goal was to keep things low overhead, potentially always for at least this type of practice, and what I was looking for those for several years, I never really had a goal to make things big or bring a lot of people on. I think it was easy to see pretty quickly that with the way I was going to run the practice and how I wanted to see patients, I didn't need three medical assistants, tons of people on the phones. I just really wanted to have a good, friendly, helpful face at the front desk who was really just helping me do everything. I am in the rooms by myself, and I'm okay with that. Some dermatologists or some physicians really like to have a lot of hands on deck, but I never really had an aim to have a lot of staff, and I also am not good at, I think, or hadn't learned about HR very well. So that was also something I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing there. So have less staff, you'll have less problems. So I never really had a name. I did after I had one employee. People came and went as they went on to. Someone became a nurse. Someone went back to her original job. I think probably the first 3 years.
Yeah.
And then my current full-time front desk and kind of back office and does it all, we started realizing together, okay, there's just some of the back office stuff that is stopping us from being as good at giving patient care. And then we brought on someone else, and they worked well together, and she's sometimes full-time, sometimes part-time now. But that's part of, I think, the business goal has been to keep things really small and high touch with patients, so everybody knows my front desk by name. So I like that about the practice as well. I don't ever want to have a answering service or where you're just not talking to you. Just that level of quality.
I think that the message that I keep on hearing you say is that it's always about what's good for the patient. If there's something on the back office side that's slowing us down from being high touch with our patients, then we got to figure out the solution to that problem.
Right.
So I think that's a great way to approach your business.
Yeah, it's been great, I think, for patients. Now, again, could my life be a little easier to where I'm not doing as many of the little paperwork, right, that doesn't contribute to patient care. I still do all my own prior authorizations. I respond to a lot of the emails. I try to call any of the melanomas. I do call any of the melanomas and a lot of the skin cancers. So could I have more time in my day and at night if I hired more people? For sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem to bother me as of now, and at least I know I can get it done as quickly as possible rather than have to teach someone about the diagnosis so they can fill these questions out.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with it now.
Gotcha.
In another 5 years, will doing prior authorizations really annoy me? Yes, I'm sure I'm going to want to delegate it. But for now, it works.
Yeah.
I don't think it's worth it to have a whole nother person in there doing these mindless tasks when I'm like, okay, I can get it done.
Yeah.
I can get it done for now.
Yeah.
And I think getting to know your patients kind of impacts you because then you remember that person and their journey,
Right.
so that you can take that with you to the next patient. Is there any particular patient, like you said early on, you would spend a whole hour if you wanted to, that kind of impacted you and you feel like their story kind of you learned from it, or that you're able to kind of take that forward with you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had a couple patients who they had negative experiences, and I don't think it was to the fault of another dermatologist being good or bad, but just the restrictions, right? That we can't do everything today. We'll bring you back, and then maybe you don't. They schedule you out a little bit, or life comes up and you're not able to go back. But I have had quite a few patients who, because I've had the time and availability, both in the beginning and still now, having longer appointments. I've had a few patients who, in the first visit, I've biopsied because I have the time and I'm going to do it and not bring someone back, and then diagnosed 12, 14 skin cancers in a visit. I had been seeing other dermatologists and, been told to come back, or, oh, we don't have time for that one. Or maybe in the back of their minds, they say, I'm just going to prioritize a few of them and not do all of them. I've had that ability. So that I think has been the greatest thing, that I've had the time to do it, and I chose to do it at that time point. And then make good on it and give them good care and to continue to follow up with them, because the patients trust you once they realize you're gonna do the right things for them at the time. So I think that's been great, not for the patients because they've had a lot of these serious diagnoses, but knowing, all right, we got them all today.
Yep.
We got it all done today, and hopefully we don't lose them to follow up, and they continue to have the care that they need.
What one final question for you, because this more relates to something I love about our business, is just what role does branding and social media marketing play with your practice?
Mine, very little.
Very little.
I don't do it really at all anymore just because I'm not good at delegating. I don't really like social media. The educational portion, I would love to be able to do more, but I have not made it a priority. After the first couple of years, I would say I was pretty consistent.
This is your start right here. This is your start. There you go.
I was pretty consistent within the beginning. But I think because I was coming at it from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
And I understand that there's a lot of educational portion to it. I also am a longtime lurker on social media platforms, right? So I love to see other dermatologists doing it, other physicians doing it. But the way that it is now, I guess I just think there's no possible way I could keep up with it, and I don't really have the desire to. Yeah. So because I don't market anymore, because it has been good word of mouth and my appointments are booking out pretty far, I don't necessarily want people to have to wait any longer than they're already waiting. And because I don't have an interest in it, it hasn't played a big part of my practice.
And it doesn't have to.
No, and it doesn't have to. I would like to be able to do it a little bit more, again, from the educational perspective.
That's what I'm hearing.
But not to become an influencer, not to sell things.
Yeah.
That's not my...
Maybe it's something you add to your website. It's like, hey, here's some just educational videos of just different topics.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
It's on the list of
There you go.
Yeah, because I think there's a big misconception as to what a dermatologist actually does every day.
Yes.
Especially with the TikToks of the world, right?
Right.
Because they just think all you're doing all day is Botox.
Exactly. And my practice is more medical. I do offer cosmetics because I want patients to be able to have it done correctly and patients to not have to look around for deals. And I think it's still a medical procedure. So I think it should be done by medical professionals. But yeah, more of what I'm doing is the medical side of things. So I do agree, right? And then that people think it's a lot more cosmetic, or that you're Dr. Pimple Popper, which I'm also not. She's amazing, and I'm not doing what she's doing. Very few could be like her. So there's a nice in between, cool medical world in dermatology that I think not everybody knows about. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's move into the hot or not segment.
Okay.
Again, we're just gonna kind of rapid fire questions. It's related to elevated skincare, hot or not. Feel free to elaborate on any of these, and then we'll go from there. You want to go our way?
So preventative Botox in your 20s, like a Botox party, hot or not? Not.
Okay. All right. So this is for my wife, because my wife did have melanoma stage 1. All good, but SPF every day, even in winter. Hot. Hear that, Meg? I asked.
Yes. And for that, so lots of different forms of UV light contribute to your overall skin cancer risk. Okay. And more of the skin cancer raises UVB, which peaks more late spring, early summer. But UVA contributes oxidative stressors to the DNA, which contribute a lesser amount to skin cancer risk. You get UVA year-round. UVA penetrates through glass and through windows. So even people in the wintertime, I'm not out, I'm not on a beach, I work from home. You're getting UV exposure year-round. So
really,
I like sunscreen 365 days a year. Also, certain sunscreens, some of the tinted sunscreens, will have a different ingredient, iron oxides, which helps with visible light coverage of our screen time and the other different wavelengths.
Okay.
And that contributes more to aging of the skin, discoloration. Really? So you're getting a lot of benefits from different forms of sunscreen, not just skin cancer prevention.
What type of sunscreens would you say?
I don't care about sunscreen brands. Just a couple key things, because you have mineral sunscreen, chemical sunscreens. There's little nuances to both of them. They're more just specific to a person's skin type, what they how they feel like it works on their skin. So whatever sunscreen you really like and the one you're going to use is the best one for you. But I think there's just a couple key things that you're always looking for. SPF 30 or greater,
Yep.
broad spectrum in the summer months or working out or in different parts of the country, water resistant. And I don't care after that. Then there's just little nuances, and you might pay for a really expensive brand because they add certain things, moisturizers to it, or you like how it feels on your skin.
Gotcha.
Great.
Great.
Awesome.
Collagen supplements, hot or not?
I guess hot, but not for the reasons I think people think. Protein supplementation, an ingredient that I think probably from some of the early research will show that it's overall beneficial to skin and joints and hair and nails, but the collagen molecule itself that you ingest does not end up in your skin as collagen. It's broken down in your circulation. It's a huge molecule. So protein source, fine. I don't see
Lots
a
of
lot of
marketing, I think,
downsides to it. Exactly.
Yeah.
Lots of
Exactly.
marketing.
All right. So another question from Megan. I told you I would ask her. Red light therapy mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's hot.
Oh man. So I guess that's a buyer one. All right.
Prescription versus the over-the-counter retinols that you can get today, hot or not?
Hot. Just retinols over the counter are just pre-activated vitamin A. So they give you benefit for cell turnover and collagen stimulation, but they're a little bit weaker because your cells in your skin have to convert it over to the stronger form. And then the prescription grade is the already activated form. So you're getting the benefits and a little bit stronger. I just think hot because not everybody's skin can tolerate prescription strength. There might be too much drying, too much irritation. So if you can get the benefit from the over-the-counter form, then great. But it still gives you benefit.
Okay. What about minimalist skincare versus the 15-step protocol?
Yeah, hot for minimalists.
Okay.
At least for me. I try to base my recommendations on just evidence-based medicine and the studies that have been there for a long time. And there's very few great evidence-based studies for the majority of the new things on the market. Will it come at some point? Maybe. But there's also just been a few key ingredients or a few key classes of medications, either over the counter or prescription, that have consistently shown that they contribute to anti-aging and skin cancer prevention. So huge 15 skincare step routines just don't have the evidence behind them.
Gotcha.
Medical spas versus board-certified dermatologist, hot or not?
Let's say not, but just I guess it depends really on what you're using them for. I'm always a fan of procedures because whether it's cosmetic or medical, cosmetic or in there for let's say a medical diagnosis, I think that they're all medical procedures. You could be doing the procedure for a cosmetic reason versus for a medical reason. So I still think they're all medical procedures. So I always believe that those should be done by a physician or a medical provider. But I think there's time and place for simpler things at many spas or with estheticians. I just think the medical procedures, whether it's cosmetic or for another dermatologic diagnosis, should be done by physicians.
Awesome. Well, we're pretty much done our hot or not, but I want to throw in a filler question real quick. What is the metric that you look for in your business that you care about the most when it comes to being a dermatologist?
I think patient satisfaction or quality of care
Okay.
for patients.
So the follow-up to that is, I figured that was going to be your answer. How do you personally measure that?
Not necessarily by reviews, because I think that's one objective. Sure, someone can write something online about you. It would still be reviews, but I think it's the feedback we get from patients in office, or the fact that a family member comes to you. Well, that's a review of you.
I would say the fact that majority of your business is referral based.
Yes.
I would say 100% the reason is because they're referring either their family members or in other individuals to your practice. So you're doing a tremendous job. We're going to move into our tougher spot. Okay. All right. You ready for this? This is called Plead the Fifth. And Plead the Fifth is real simple. We have a ton of questions here. You don't know how many questions we have that we're going to ask. It could be 2 questions. It could be 7. I don't know.
Okay.
But you do have one Plead the Fifth out of those so many questions. So use it wisely.
Okay.
All right. Don't be scared. It's easy.
So I'll start off. So what trend actually really concerns you long term?
Well, I think with social media, and I think this would concern everyone, is patients or just people in general. You might have never seen them doing their own medical procedures. People can buy things that are similar to fillers or syringes of things online or from other countries and then inject themselves. So extremely dangerous, number one. But a lot of people get their medical advice from social media. So it is becoming more common than we think.
Sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they get financial planning advice from social
Yeah.
media too.
Yes.
We can believe.
Yeah, AI is not helping out
No,
either.
no, no.
All right, so what's the most overrated skincare treatment right now?
Let me think about this for a second because I will never comment. I don't do everything.
Sure.
And I definitely don't claim to know everything about dermatology. So, overrated skincare trend. Can I come back to it?
Yeah.
I'll answer it. I gotta think.
Because it's not
I
a
gotta
Plead the
think.
Fifth.
Okay.
We'll give you that pass.
Okay.
We'll
We'll
give
come
you a
back.
pass. What's the hardest thing about managing your staff?
I don't find it very hard because I have a great staff member. I think it maybe, at least for me, not to make anyone sound like they're high maintenance, is, at least for me, keeping my employee happy and feeling like she's growing and that I value her, because it's me and her against the world in this practice, and she helps me so much. So just making sure that I'm cognizant of that she's as important on any given day as me, but just in a completely different way. So I'm always scared that Rebecca's going to leave.
Speaking of that, what keeps you up at night as a business owner?
I think it still is just patience, patient care, because I've been able to pay the bills. I've made it this long, so I think I'm doing okay in terms of just making sure that I'm hitting those endpoints of the economic side of things. Is always just, am I doing things the right way? Did I do something wrong today? Did I miss something? So it's just patient care keeps me up.
Yeah.
Have you ever had a result not go as planned?
Yes.
Maybe too high an expectation, perhaps, of the patient, but how did you handle that?
Reached out for help. I have done, I mean, one that at times specifically that I think I definitively made an error in a setting on a machine, or I was too cavalier in a procedure that I had done, took something on, I think that was over my head, and knew immediately I needed help from someone else who was more an expert than me, that had other things that I think could help the problem. So told the patient right away, this was a mistake. I'm gonna try to fix this. And I reached out to another dermatologist who I think was much more an expert in the area, and she willingly was able to take the patient on and help me through fixing what I think was a mistake that I had made. And she did extremely well and came out of it with no further issues. But that was not only scary, but eye-opening for me to say, okay, you did the wrong thing. You're never going to do that again. But I think in that moment I could have tried to conceal it or said it was the machine, or I blame it on someone else. But I said, I did something wrong.
Yeah.
I'm going to find you someone who can help you. And thankfully she was willing to help.
What's one thing you wish patients would stop doing immediately?
Getting medical advice from social media. Yeah.
Yeah. And along that line, I mean, is there something in your industry in general that frustrates you? Like behind the scenes, there's got to be dermatologists that you would even disagree with.
Yeah. I think at least just more specifically to my practice, since I'm so small, I do a ton of acne.
Okay.
And I love that diagnosis, I think, also because like I'm working with a lot of young people. There's a lot of nuances there in that age group that you have to just be really careful with. And that can be treated somewhat just in the general population, but also on social media as a diagnosis that is not medical, that's cosmetic, or it's a rite of passage. And I just hate to see at least that specific diagnosis managed online, because when kids come to see me, then they're scarred or they've dealt with years and years of self-esteem issues. So I love doing acne and working with that population of patients in that age group.
Like it gets you going back to working with kids, which is what you originally wanted to
Yeah,
know. So
yeah, exactly.
that's awesome. So I'm gonna go back to that question. What's the most overrated skincare treatment right now? You do have a pleat to fed.
I think it's probably oral, probably supplementation.
Okay.
And it may be the collagen route. It may be peptides, which are not fully understood or regulated. That they're just going to do more for you than not. And they're usually couched with, buy it with this and this and this, and follow this step routine, and this is what you're going to achieve. Probably the supplementation.
I gotcha.
Have you ever had to talk a patient out of something?
Yes. Yes. Usually cosmetics.
Okay.
And maybe it's more for and the opposite side of things, talking patients into something is also another thing that I have to deal with when you go into thinking that you want patients to be fully part of the decision making, but you also know at the same time, I think what I want you to do is really the right thing to do.
Right.
So it's both sides of it is figuring out the right way to have that discussion and knowing when not to push, because that's not the kind of help they're looking for.
Yeah.
So mostly cosmetics for saying no, and then also trying to help people on to, I think, the best decision for them to have a good outcome.
Have you ever said no and then you find out that they get the treatment unsuccessfully somewhere else? Because unfortunately, there's usually someone out there that will do that.
Maybe just a time or two where someone has come back for help with a botched procedure or a side effect, but very infrequently. And that's probably more because I'm not on social media, so I'm not following people to see if they're, if they're cheating on you with another dermatologist, which is fine. Go wherever you're comfortable.
Right.
You're not my possession. So very rarely has that happened.
That's a good thing.
Well, I'm going to ask you just one final question. Do you think the industry is becoming too cosmetic focused versus medical?
Real world is not social media, so I think social media wise, yes.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
for the day to day, I think there are still great doctors doing the right thing.
Yeah.
But they're not the ones advertising doing the right thing, because that's very boring.
Yeah.
So social media, yes, on there, I think it appears.
Well, it's a revenue driver.
Yes.
So.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's where people are. They're not anywhere else but on their phones looking at things. So yes, there. But that's why for me, I kind of just stay out of the world and just hope that I'm doing the right things from day to day with patients. But unfortunately, that's not the easiest to advertise to patients. It's not really what they're looking for online.
Yeah.
So what is your skincare routine? What are some non-negotiables that you practice every day?
So the four things, which is usually what I talk to patients about in cosmetic consultations and things that have the most evidence behind them, four key things, which are pretty simple. So morning vitamin C, topically, antioxidant, helps your sunscreen work better, helps with dark marks, helps to decrease all your skin's reaction to the environmental stressors. And then sunscreen. I consider sunscreen an ingredient. Sunscreen for me is number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of your list. If you're not doing that, don't do Botox, don't do fillers, don't get lasers, don't do anything else. It's not worth it. So vitamin C and sunscreen in the morning. At night, retinol or retinoid, something that's a vitamin A derivative, as long as your skin can tolerate it slowly over time, because that has the most long-standing evidence for collagen stimulation.
Gotcha.
And then exfoliation. So usually with those, I'm recommending AHA line of products, which is again an over-the-counter ingredient, something like glycolic acid, to cleanse the skin and actually exfoliate. And those 4 things have very, very high levels of evidence that if you consistently stick with those through your lifetime, and you might be cycling different lines in and out or different percentages in and out, but if you do even 2 of those 4 things,
Yeah.
your skin will do great over time.
Wow. Awesome.
But not exfoliate every day.
Some people can.
Okay.
Some people can. I think you just watch how your skin responds. And that's also another trendy thing online of rotating and having nights where you're doing this versus that. There's no hard and fast rule. There's nothing in a textbook to say that you have to do it specifically this way. There's plenty of things in the textbook to say at least those things I just said have evidence behind them. But how you do them, how many days a week you do them, if you do them in combination with other things, if you take breaks, there's not a true science behind that portion. So I think if you're just incorporating them, you're consistent with things over time, you'll reap
It'll
benefits.
compound. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Dr. Cannon, thank you so much for your expertise, everything you shared about your business. I think what you're doing in the direct care space is amazing. I think you're putting the patient first, which is the most important thing, and it's showing dividends for you in your practice. So I want to thank you for joining us today. Where can future patients, find you?
So we're in Bel Air. Website, candondermatology.com. I'm on social media, but not really. So you just give us a call. We're over at Bel Air.
And this will all be in the notes section for our YouTube channel. So thanks, folks. That's all we have for today. Beyond the Frame.
Thank you.
Thank you.